bothers me when people don't understand that even though someone hasn't done certain things to their own, when people see a stranger and they don't know if they've done something or not, they assume they haven't, and they assume who they are, and they assume that because they don't know that it's not true, and they assume that certain thoughts haven't even crossed their mind, and the potential isn't there, and that because a person is defined by certain things and put into boxes and put into categories and have labels put on them, that they are defined, and that they are certain, and they are like everyone else. But you can't do that. You can't look at a person and know what they've gone through, and you can't. I'm not saying you can't judge a book by its cover, but you can't assume you know what you're talking about when you don't know a person. And even if you do know a person, you may not know their entire life story, because just because you know a person does not mean that there might be holes that they just haven't shared with you. And maybe even if you've known a person their entire life, they are a child of yours, a sibling, you still might not know them. You still might not know what's in their head. You might not know what button is their self-destruct button. And you may not know what their potential is. Because you see someone every day does not mean you know them. Does not mean that you can control them, or you can define them, or you can say what you want about them. It does not mean that you understand who they are as a person. It means you should learn. It means you should open your eyes and try to figure out what's going on with them if you want to have a meaningful and developed life with them. If you want to keep whatever the bond between you is real, unbroken, and understood, learn, ask questions. Do not assume. It could be your parent, it could be your sibling, it could be your own child, it could be your best friend since you were 5. It could be that kid you've gone to school with since pre-K and you still have never said a word to them. People go through life processing information in different ways depending on how they were influenced as a child, and also how their brain connects internally. Everyone absorbs information differently. Everyone creates thoughts and emotions based on different things, and one thing that is positive that appears to many people they'll all think something different of it. And because you see a sunset and you see colors and beauty, another may see the end of a day and see it as a sad thing. They may see the approaching night and realize that's when their monsters come out, and when they're alone, and when they cannot function because the thoughts and fears are wrapping themselves around them until it's too tight to breathe. Just because you see someone who messed up and who can't because someone is messed up does not mean they are less than you. Because someone is not where you're at in life and has not adapted to life as well as you have does not mean you can look down upon them. Because somebody's brain does not function exactly how yours does not mean that they are less of a person. Because they look just like you on the outside does not mean they think the same way you do. Just because you are related to someone does not mean you should get along. But it does not mean that you should shut them out. It means you should try to listen. And you should try to see their point. And even though you disagree, does not mean you should make life a living hell for them. Just because you are not the same as them does not mean they are less of a person. Does not mean they're less of anything. It means they are different. Just because you decided to whine and scream louder than anyone else does not mean you should get your way opposed to them. Because they have learned to be submissive and just squirm away from any form of conflict because it just causes trouble. Because they don't want to deal with that because they have enough to deal with. Does not mean because you have nothing else on your plate, you should cause problems for them. Just because you're an asshole doesn't mean anyone else has to deal with your shit.